Good afternoon, and welcome to today's webinar titled Healthcare Consumerism, How to Drive Patient Acquisition and Loyalty. My name is Jeanette Wider, and I'm Managing Editor of Healthcare Innovation. Today's program is sponsored by Reputation. Thank you to our sponsor and to our audience for giving us your time and attention today. Before we get started, we have a few housekeeping details. To submit a question, please use the Q&A box to the left of your video window at any time. You do not need to wait until the end of the program. For technical issues, please press F5 to refresh, and if that doesn't work, you can submit a question with your issue through the Q&A panel. Finally, join our webinar conversation on Twitter. You can tweet using the hashtag HILiveWebinar. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mike Canamigo, Director, Digital Consumer Experience at Advocate Aurora Health, and Annie Hafner-Harmon, Consumer Experience Strategy North America at Reputation. Annie, I'll hand it off to you.
Thank you very much. So welcome, and thank you for joining us to learn more about the digital front door and how to drive acquisition and loyalty through various elements of that. And this is a really important conversation to have because traditionally we've thought of healthcare as this linear experience. I go to my doctor, I get a referral, maybe I get some follow-up care, pay my bill, maybe I even provide feedback afterward via a survey or an online review. Those are all loyalty steps on that right-hand side of this journey. But when you consider the patient journey today, you also see that there's a much more consumer-driven experience of healthcare than simply the clinical interaction between a patient and a caregiver. And often this experience is starting online. And in fact, as of the latest numbers that Google has put out, they estimate that consumers do 450 million healthcare-related searches per day. And of those healthcare-related searches, 81% of them are symptom-based searches. And what this means, for example, is like the other day when I had a bit of a holiday decorating mishap, I found myself Googling, what does a broken toe look like? By the way, I don't recommend Googling what does a broken toe look like. You're not going to like the results. But once I searched my symptoms, I could see my treatment options. I was served up information about the different types of care. And then I was taken down a path of looking at locations and providers for that type of care. Google was serving me up recommendations for urgent care near me or an orthopedic clinic. And if this is where consumers are starting their search, then the digital front door is increasingly vital to that overall experience. And if you look at the way that this journey flows, it's not a linear experience at all. It is very much an infinite loop. You've got the appointment happening, and then you're going to show up, get your care, and maybe recommend to others. And your recommendation to others is going to drive future acquisition. So this loyalty and acquisition is inherently linked together, and one side feeds the other. So let's talk a little bit about that. We know that patient interactions are dynamic, and there are all kinds of things that they can do. And part of what the digital front door is intended to do is eliminate those friction points in that journey. So on the acquisition side, your goal would be to increase patient volumes, driving access to care, and generating more leads. So increasing the visibility of your physicians and your service lines. And in order to do that, you really need to, like I said before, look at Google. Google is the #1 site used by healthcare consumers. It's no longer a nice to have, it's a critical entry point. And most health systems look at Google business profiles as just as important as, or even more important than, their own website landing pages because Google is going to prioritize its own content. So obviously, Google is the most popular source for searching for a physician or hospital, but also it is the #1 review site used by healthcare consumers. Now, think about ratings and reviews and the way that you, may have thought of reviews in the past are more around first-party feedback. So CAP, for example, or an internal survey. More and more consumers are looking at third-party feedback. So those Google reviews are absolutely critical because it is going to drive future patient acquisition. Now, we've talked a little bit about acquisition. Let's go back to the loyalty side of this journey. Obviously, we want to bring in as many new patients as possible, but we also want your existing patients to stay with you, to stay in network. And you don't want your primary care provider to make a recommendation to an ortho, have that patient Google the name of that ortho and see that they have, poor online reviews and then go somewhere else out of network. You also want to use that feedback that your patients are sharing with you to amplify patient advocacy, to turn patients into your brand ambassadors. They're already sharing their experiences with others in the form of online ratings and reviews. So why not amplify that? Use that on your own website. Solicit more feedback from all of your patients. Don't leave it up to chance. And this is what our most recent consumer healthcare experience survey found. Now, this is an annual study we do with a third party called YouGov, and we're just launching our 2022 study for the 2023 report, which will be out in a few months. But these are some of the stats that we saw in our most recent report. We all know that online ratings and reviews have changed the way we behave as consumers. And think about the last time you were making a decision about buying a pair of shoes on Amazon or where you wanted to book a hotel for a trip. This feedback is such a critical aspect of any consumer decision. And with healthcare becoming more and more consumer-driven, this feedback is critical to the decision about healthcare selection. So consider the top 3 factors that a patient has when they're selecting care. They want to know, number 1, do they accept my insurance? Number 2, is it convenient to me, location-wise, close to work or home? And number 3, online ratings and reviews. They want to look at feedback from other patients. Now, this was the second year that we did this study where reviews outranked brand as that third factor. And this is really important because in the past, brand was the third factor. And what this tells us now is that your brand is not what you say it is, it's what your patients say it is. And so think about that when you're looking at, are you collecting feedback? Are you responding to feedback? Because 72% of U.S. adults read online patient ratings and reviews when they are selecting care. And 72% of them also want the provider they choose to be rated 4 out of 5 stars or higher. Now, this is really important. In some healthcare organizations, we've found that it's hard to accept the loss of control over your own brand and your own message. But to really embrace this feedback and embrace that digital front door is going to open up so much more opportunity to grow. And where we look for our clients to grow is in some of these key outcomes and KPIs. So any investment in your digital front door is only as good as what you can measure with regard to lead generation, patient volumes, referrals, retention. And if you are not already tracking the KPIs that are shown here, you must be. These metrics should be part of any dashboard you're using to track progress toward your organizational goals. A lot of our clients have dashboards that are already built out that they use to track capacity. They look at physician bandwidth and also feedback all in one place. But what would also be important to look at there in context of that individual physician or that individual location or even at a market level is, what does that engagement look like? What is the sentiment around that particular service line or that particular region? Are you collecting testimonials in the form of ratings and reviews that can be shared and be used to convert future patients to select your brand? So, if I was going to say take a screenshot at any point, I'd say this is a good one to take a screenshot of, just because these are the things that you should be aware of and tracking toward. And later on in the presentation today, Mike's going to share how they have addressed several of these areas and the results that they've had. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to my friend Mike Canonigo, who is doing some brilliant work with the digital front door at Advocate Aurora. Mike, you want to take it over here?
Yeah, thanks, Annie, and thanks for that setup. I appreciate being called brilliant here. So when you look at Advocate Aurora Health, a little bit about us is in April of 2018, two of the nation's largest healthcare systems, Advocate Health of Illinois and Aurora Health of Wisconsin, came together to form Advocate Aurora Health, which became the 12th largest not-for-profit health system in the United States. Combined, we have 27 hospitals, 3 million unique patients, 500 sites of care, and $2.5 billion in community benefits just in 2020. With that large footprint, we do service a lot. And just a nod, I don't know if you've been paying attention or seeing in the news, we have been working together with now Atrium Health to even combine into an even larger health system. So when you look at Advocate Aurora Health's strategy, we put the consumer first. With this consumer first approach, we've identified 5 landmark initiatives. Live Well. This is our Advocate Aurora Health branded consumer platform. It offers our patients, our consumers, our team members a place where they can schedule an appointment, message their care team, pay bills. They also have access to such items like guided meditation and healthy recipes. It's all meant for exactly what the name says, for our patients and consumers to live well. We have virtual health. Through COVID, we saw there was such a need for more virtual care options as folks weren't coming into the office. So we really stepped up our ability to provide these virtual care options. So it's become one of our landmark initiatives, because what we are trying to do is we're trying to transform the care delivery by embedding anytime, anywhere virtual care access into our clinical experiences. Our third landmark initiative, enhanced scheduling. Create a simplified scheduling experience for every Advocate Aurora Health access point. I'll go a little bit into a deeper dive into this enhanced scheduling initiative, but this is where a lot of our conversion happens. Fourth landmark initiative is our consumer engagement platform. This is where we create that seamless, personalized experience for every consumer across every touch point. And finally, our digital platforms. Now, we consider our digital platforms are still our digital front door. This is where we deliver a consistent experience that makes it easy to find information for our providers and services. So Annie brought in a really great metric, and I want to reiterate it. 400 million healthcare-related searches a day. 81% of them are symptom-based searches. From our marketing and search marketing team, we've seen this number grow and increase. This is why you need a clear and focused search strategy to be successful. When we at Advocate Aurora Health, with our search marketing strategy, we've developed areas of focus. And in these areas of focus, we've also tiered it off into 3 major components, the SEO, paid, and local. Each one of these will lead into some sort of conversion point. So starting from left to right, really not in any specific importance, but they're all equally important. Our SEO strategy, our search engine optimization, is we want to rank as high as possible. We want all of our services and our products to come up high in those Google searches, no matter if the consumer is searching branded or non-branded searches. We do this by writing our content to rank high. We review the best practices based on Google to see what performance metrics helps our pages to rank higher on search results. When we look at paid searches, you really need to have just a robust Google ad placement strategy, matching this up with the business, what they need, and what we want to have ranked high on any type of paid searches. And finally, on the local level, we're really starting to focus on the near me searches. So what are the services or the locations that our consumers are trying to look for at that moment of care? What's closest to them? We do this by making sure that our Google information, our Google business profiles are accurate, and they have listings, and they connect back to our local pages. With all these, we work towards that conversion point. And a conversion can be a phone call, scheduling an appointment using our LiveWell patient portal, or scheduling on our website at one of our providers or locations using that enhanced scheduling widget tool. So when we look at that consumer digital journey, the journey does start with some sort of search. And we've been saying this throughout this webinar of this is where they start. From that search, we have a landing page, and that landing page can be a content page, a marketing focused landing page, a provider or location page. Not every consumer will enter in through the same area, and this is why we need to create a seamless experience, whether they're landing within our website or one of those provider pages. Then we engage. Our consumers are looking for something, some information, hours, maps, or even the scheduling part. I'm going to use scheduling as our conversion because that's where we have this consumer journey. This is what we're looking for them to do. This is what the action is when we look at our consumers, is we want them to schedule their appointment, their service within our system. And finally, the cross-sell of services. After they've scheduled, we want to keep that relationship going that may be in the form of our LiveWell app. If you recall when I brought up the landmark initiatives, our LiveWell platform is a place where consumers can come in and pay a bill, see lab results, message their providers, see health recipes, or have access to guided meditation. So this is looking at what the consumer digital journey might be all the way through from their search to any follow-up appointments. When going with our enhanced scheduling access initiative, the way we've defined enhanced scheduling is a simplified, connected, personalized scheduling experience at every Advocate Aurora access point. And the way we do this is, on the next slide, we have 3 different tiers of what we look at from a enhanced scheduling perspective. We have the search, we have the schedule, and then we have the engage. So just at a very high level, the search we've already covered, finding the clinician's location and services that match your needs and preferences. This is our access points, our websites, our physicians, our APC profiles, our location pages, the ratings and reviews that Annie brought in earlier as the differentiators on what they're searching for. Google profiles, our optimized and paid searches. Then we have our next bucket, which is scheduling. And I'll walk you through a little bit of the scheduling of our own enhanced widget that we built for our consumers. So you want to schedule your appointment with a simple connect experience by phone, online, or on site. And we want our team members to be able to schedule at the site or over the phone. We want to increase self-scheduling through our Livewell app or from our websites or from texting or from chatting. And finally, after they've scheduled, we want to be able to continue that by engaging with them. Prepare a hassle-free arrival at your visit and ongoing connection to your health. So again, Livewell activations and engagement, appointment reminders, pre-check-in and arrival, waitlist, fast pass, post-visit touch points. All of this is necessary and happily built on a couple other ideas, which is what we call the single source of truth, where all data is coming in from a single repository. So we have clean and accurate information that we're giving to our consumers, and through our scheduling optimization program, where we are matching that the access, no matter where a consumer is coming in from, website, patient portal, or the phone, that our consumers are seeing the same access no matter what touch point they're entering. So these are just a couple screenshots of our scheduling, our enhanced scheduling widget. What makes this page really pop over here is when you look at the top, we have consistent information on the location that matches the location and the Google business profile. And this is very important, so that way you have that accuracy. So if they're clicking from Google and they see this information, it matches. At our clinic at Walgreens, we have multiple care services available to schedule directly on these Walgreens location pages. So you can see the arrow points down to our patients being able to schedule clinic visits, flu visits, immunizations, physicals, and TB tests. And once they see this, they can see appointments up to 4 days in advance and be able to schedule their appointments. Again, through scheduling optimization, we want to be able to have appointments that match no matter if you're scheduling on the web, through our Livewell app, or calling in. All of the appointment slots should always match.
And Mike, yeah, I wanted to sort of underscore this a bit here. I mean, I know from my previous role in working in healthcare that this is such a critical thing that most health systems haven't nailed yet, is that consistency, the omni-channel experience. I mean, that's what the digital front door is really supposed to be, is a front door for the same experience you would get in person, just at your fingertips. And I just want to add one little anecdote, because it happened recently, and I think I shared this with you, Mike, when we were at a conference, but I volunteered to schedule an appointment for my husband who needed his annual physical. Now, I should have known better than to volunteer to do something nice, because no good deed goes unpunished, especially when it comes to organizing healthcare. And so I went online and I saw that his provider had online scheduling available. And I thought, great, I can't wait to get this done. So I clicked on the profile. It said, well, you have to set up an account in the portal. Okay, I can do that. I set up the account in the portal. I texted my husband, you're going to get a confirmation message. You got to let me know the code so I can confirm it. We got it all worked out, and I got in and I submitted the time that I wanted. It showed me a bunch of time slots. I selected the time, and then I got a message that said, we will contact you to confirm the appointment. Well, I thought that was a little bit clunky, but hey, it's online scheduling. That's good enough for me. Well, the next day, we get an email. You need to log into the portal to see your message. Log into the portal. If you would like to schedule an appointment, please call this number. Now, that was a brilliant example of the worst kind of online scheduling, which is where you say that you've got online scheduling, but really you're just going to send them to a message that says, we don't have online scheduling, call us at this number instead. And unfortunately, that is so common still even today. so many health systems are still treating online scheduling as just a link that gives you the phone number, and that's not what consumers expect, and it's a huge dissatisfier. So what Mike and his team have done at Advocate Aurora is just so good and so in line with the omni-channel approach that consumers expect. And I only wish that I lived in one of your markets, Mike, because it would have been a lot easier.
Yeah. Well, on top of that, and I'll just add a little bit more color to that too, is, and I don't have these metrics here posted in any of these slides, but what we've learned from our own consumer studies and insights is that 88% of our consumers want to schedule online. But what we see is a significant drop off because of that mismatch of the access of what you're scheduling for, and then having to do follow-ups. And just an example is we always use this example when you're scheduling an airfare or flight, you know exactly where you're coming from or where you're going to, what airport, what time. You would lose a lot of customer faith if you scheduled your air flight at a certain time and location, and you got a call back saying, sorry, we don't fly out of that airport at that time. So it's very important to have that consistency and be able to follow up and deliver on the appointment slots that are being scheduled online. Going back to this though, and when you look at that, the ease of use of what we're doing to schedule, when a consumer, after that journey, after they were to click on an appointment time slots, you have the ability to serve up for existing patients or a simplified registration screen. So for those who have an existing relationship with Advocate Aurora Health, have a Livewell account, it's easy as using your username and password to sign in and confirm your appointment. If you aren't and you're new, because new patient acquisition is also very important to us, we want them to schedule as a guest, and we want to be able to remove barriers and make the registration process as simple as possible. So we ask as little as information that we need in order to get someone to schedule that appointment. After they schedule that appointment, we want to be able to, this is now when you get into the engage part, if you remember from above, the engage area. After they schedule their appointment, we want to be able to give them some sort of text confirmation reminder, let them know that they've completed that registration, and also give them that reminder of their appointment as it's coming up. And then the cross-selling of being able to give them a little bit more access is having them download or open up a Livewell account where they can use pre-check-in so they can arrive into their appointment without having to fill out all those forms. They can also, again, pay their bills or look at other information, get their lab results through this. So this is how we really connect those landmark initiatives into a singular consumer digital journey. And just to share some wins, when we look at this, what we've done in 2019 to 2022, and how we've grown what we're scheduling for. In 2019, you can see that we only had about 622,000 of online appointments, and we mostly focused around primary care. Now in 2022, our goal is really challenging. It's that we want to have 1.25 million online scheduling appointments. And in order to do that, we've also expanded the footprint of what you can schedule for. A big significant call out is if you look in that green of 500, we've added the ability to schedule with rehab therapists. That is always that has been proven to be a great opportunity after follow-up visits. If a provider says we want you to go see a therapist, we give them the opportunity to be able to schedule immediately, so that way we continue that care of service. In addition, we've also opened up those COVID and flu vaccine shots to be able to online schedule for these services. And then looking at this trajectory of where we've been from a goals and appointments, I know I've mentioned about the 600,000 online appointments in 2019-20. We were tracking around that those 600,000 back in 2019 and 2020. And that's when we decided to come up and start to develop our own enhanced scheduling widgets. Then we also unified a provider and location web search experience. So that way, it didn't matter where you're looking for or what services. We wanted to give that consistent consumer approach when it came to how they're searching for their care on Advocate Aurora Health. In 2021, we hit a milestone of online scheduling of 1.8 million online scheduling appointments. And the reason is when we launched COVID vaccines and had scheduling online for them. That's what really drove that number high. So we consider that very much an anomaly, but we took a lot of lessons from that of what our consumers are looking for in that scheduling process. We activated and launched that enhanced scheduling widget in that PCP and pediatric provider profile pages. We also developed and launched self-scheduling for mammography. So again, increasing that footprint. And this year alone, year to date, we're at 1.18 million year-to-date online appointments with a goal of 1.25. So we're just nearing this goal, and we're expected, based on the numbers, to hit that goal. We've also integrated a scheduling experience for consumers with an active patient portal account. So if you're coming in through the guest registration, as you saw, you can use the consumer web to schedule an appointment, but being able to connect your Livewell account, so that way you're not required to download the app, but you can use that as an easy way to connect your account to your appointments. We also developed and launched self-scheduling for rehab and heart scans. We launched enhanced scheduling for Walgreens clinics and our Illinois cardiology. And we are looking at displaying more shoppable consumer experiences as we look at our increase of scheduling optimization. So all of this leads up into that year-to-date goal of just hitting 1.25 million. And then tying this back into a more visible dashboard, and from what Annie had said earlier, let's look at these areas of measurements with those acquisition KPIs. When we look at improve the visibility, what we've seen is a 45% year-over-year increase to the tune of 21.2 million Google profile views. Are driving more appointments, and I think I've said this in the last two slides, but 1.25 million appointments scheduled online. We're projected to hit that this year. And then on the right-hand side, our loyalty KPIs with increased engagement and improved brand sentiment. When we look at the increased engagement, we've had 9.1 million actions taken on our Google profiles. And when we look at the actions, they did something. They went to our websites, they clicked on the maps, they went further down that conversion funnel. And then when we look at the improved brand sentiment, the 4.4 out of 5 average star rating, the 85% positive sentiment, that just lets us know that what we're doing from an Advocate Aurora Health from a patient care perspective is favorable with our customers. And we look to always maintain and use those metrics to be able to improve any of our areas that might need those improvements.
Well, thank you, Mike. And as you can see, Advocate Aurora is really doing a lot of things right. And we've spent most of the presentation today talking about the importance of that digital front door. But the digital front door is, it's many things. It's all of your landing pages. It could be third-party data. It could be the way that patients are able to message you or even get text reminders about appointments. It's all of those pieces coming together. And I always like to bring it back to the consumer experience and the technology stack that you need in order to unify all of this and bring it together. In my past career, I led a digital team at one of the largest healthcare systems in the U.S. And I was managing, millions and millions of technology that was sometimes integrated, sometimes not. And it wasn't always clear to me as a, technology buyer what my vendors and partners could do for me. And so, what I like to tell people, especially in opportunities like this, is, whoever you are working with, if you're working with multiple technology partners for various pieces of this, bring them all together, put them in a room together and lay out your problems and ask them how they can work together to solve those. It's a great way to, number one, identify gaps or even cover gaps that you may think you have, but maybe you don't if your partners would work together. And number two, it's a great way to determine which of your partners are truly partners and which ones are vendors who are, just in there to sell you a technology subscription. It's very clear who can help you solve a problem and who's just, looking for that transactional relationship. So, this is a visual representation of what a strong experience management platform should be able to do for you. Manage all of that data, connect all of your providers and service lines to the patients who are seeking care at the right time in their journey, and analyze all of that data, analyze sentiment, look at feedback from third-party sources, first-party sources, and then deliver you insights that you can then take action on, whether it's real-time action, like a person who is, going on Twitter saying that they showed up for their appointment and the building was locked. Well, you need to do some service recovery there. Or if it's a matter of you've got a trend of people complaining that their bills were incorrect and it's mostly coming out of a particular location or service line. These are things that you need to be able to look at all in one place so that you can do that real-time consumer experience as well as long-term experience management strategy. And this covers both acquisition and loyalty in that overall patient journey. So we're going to open it up for Q&A now. We have a few minutes here, and it does look like there have been some questions submitted. I'm looking at this now, and it looks like there's a question about LiveWell, Mike. Says, is LiveWell built on a commercially available platform, or is this a custom portal?
Current state is it is not a commercially available. It is an in-house built. Yeah, so that's where we are in today's form with it.
Okay. What is the best way to bring together all of the elements of digital experience if they are currently owned by separate teams? This is very common in healthcare. Mike, what are your thoughts?
That's a tough one because when they are owned by separate teams, you have a lot of, I don't want to use the word conflict, but there are different priorities set. And what I will say that from where we stand, we share these overarching goals across our systems. And it is a shared metric that, from us and HIT, our clinical staff, use as part of our goals and metrics. So I think having that aligned in some sort of goal helps to bridge that gap. But I do understand that, the priorities and resources always come into play, and it does become increasingly difficult. The best way I would say is just like we have a good leadership that helps to drive those services together.
Yeah, I've been in the room with you, Mike, and looked around and said, wow, it's so great to see representation from all of the different facets of the experience. It wasn't just the marketing team or the technology team. It was marketing and digital and IT and and patient experience and consumer experience. And it's just great that you're all working, toward a common goal. And that can be very difficult especially when you're thinking about something like the digital front door or this concept of consumer experience in healthcare that has traditionally been so siloed. And a client of mine has put it really well when she described her approach to sort of working across the aisle with different departments, that she doesn't wait until something goes wrong or that there's something to be debated before she starts working with those teams. She reaches out and tries to do as much internal networking or relationship building as she can when things are going really well, because that's how you get to know the other side and what they need. And later on, when you do need their help or want to partner with them, it can be a lot easier when you've already established that relationship early on.
Yeah, and let me add to that too. When I first brought up one of our earlier slides, it was our consumer landmark initiatives, and these are all based on Advocate Aurora's strategic vision of putting the consumer first. Now, what does that mean to all these different teams? It might mean a little bit differently in how we approach things, but the overall idea and goal is to put the consumer first. So we talk in that manner and we walk in that manner, and sometimes there are different teams that own different aspects, but as you continue to use that same language of what does it mean to put the consumer first, you help draw a better picture for everybody who's contributing to what type of work efforts.
Absolutely. This is a question related to online scheduling. Does the Advocate Aurora platform enable individuals to cancel an appointment? And when they cancel it, does that time slot automatically open back up for others to select?
Yeah, so with our online scheduling widgets, it is real-time information that we are feeding back and forth into our EHR. So when an appointment gets canceled, it goes through the regular channels of canceling. So once that appointment is made available inside the EHR, we have direct access to present and serve that appointment slot over again.
Very fancy. I remember early on when some of these online scheduling tools were first coming to market, and that was not the case. It was like, it was almost like taking an appointment off the shelf and then having to go through a return process, and that appointment sort of sits in the shopping cart at customer service in Target. Like, we've all been to Target when there's just a pile up of stuff that they have to put back. And the ability to do this dynamically in real time has really been a game changer. And why shouldn't it be? I mean, other industries have been doing this forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Here's one. What is the EHR that you are using?
We are an Epic.
That was an easy one.
Yeah.
More questions about the LiveWell platform. Does the digital platform include an education delivery component?
Yes, there is education. We have, I forgot exactly what we're using. I'm drawing blanks right now, but there is patient education inside LiveWell.
Okay. Here's a question about priorities. So let's say you are an organization. If you don't have the resources to build out, this robust program like the 5 things that you see here, where should we start for the biggest impact?
You know, I don't know if this is the right answer, but I think that there's two ways to look at this. It's building outside in or inside out type of thing. Um, and all of these have to work in tandem and parallel, but I would always focus on trying to get the consumers in. And when I look at this, the importance of Google and the searches, and again, Annie, let me know if I'm answering the right question here, but that's where I think one of the biggest impacts is bringing the consumers into your business or into the health systems. And I think that's where, when we look at this digital age, this digital area, um, this is where you're going to be bringing in that different metric. The operations behind it, the patient care, they exist today. They may not always be in the best format or best shape, but those are things that as consumers are coming in and as we get more consumer feedback, that helps to change operations and gives a different perspective, gives better insight into how the systems are performing. So I think when I would look at it, the concentration is always going to be for me like the searching ability.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. And I think that, what we've seen in recent years as that, again, the term digital front door doesn't just mean Google. We've talked a lot about Google, but Google is not digital front door. It can be a piece of it, but I do believe that local search, hyper localized search, meaning not just the content on your website, but the really complete online listings like your Google business profiles, your individual landing pages for physicians and locations. We started seeing, years ago that the homepage is no longer the entry point to your health system. Consumers aren't, and with all, love for you, Mike, they're not just going to Advocate Aurora as their first step to search for care. They might end up there, but they're not going to be going in through the homepage. They're going to enter through a provider page or a landing page or the virtual care tool because they're starting at Google, and Google is going to serve the most relevant results. So, this whole idea of SEO, I think has been a little bit, there's a lot of old school SEO out there where, it's how much cramming of keywords and topics can we put into our own website, which is very time, budget, and labor intensive. But if you can optimize your online listings, if you can get more and more patients to give you feedback online, asking for reviews and answering Q&A through the Google Knowledge Panel, that is going to improve your visibility exponentially because Google is looking to give them the most relevant information, and that means the closest to them, hyper local, and not just a big massive health system website, but an individual location. And that's where those listings are so critical.
Absolutely. I think you mentioned it earlier. That journey is not linear. And we can no longer say, even though you have your homepage or your main health page, they will come in through different entry points. And we try to rank for that with our SEO. So that way, again, to your point, they may come in through a marketing landing page. They may come in through a searching our content, or they may come in by searching for a service or care that may lead into the different threads on our website. And each one of those threads needs to be consistent on what their journey is. They cannot be coming into those journeys midstream and having thoughts, from our journey flows, having assumptions on that they already know this or they already know that. So we have to make sure that we're creating a multi-threaded approach on this non-linear entry into our websites.
Just a quick clarity question. Someone asked, what is the Google Knowledge Panel? So the Google Knowledge Panel, and this is an example of a Google profile page rendering here, but basically when you do a search through your mobile device or on your desktop, you're going to get what's called the local 3-pack, which is the initial results that come in under that search before you get to the overall organic search. It's the local listings, maps, positions, locations, and they call that the knowledge panel because often it shows up, in desktop it shows up to the right and gives you information. It gives you, more information about that. So like in this case, they accept Medicare, they speak Spanish, it's wheelchair accessible. So those are the kinds of things you've probably noticed when you search for certain things. You get that little panel on the right, or when you're doing a mobile search, it's the first thing that comes up. Someone also asked, how many months did it take you to take enhanced scheduling from concept to implementation?
Well, that's a good question. I want to say it took us about a year from actual concept pilot from concept to pilot. We got interrupted with COVID. The whole world did, but we put the project on pause while we were looking to resource to support our consumers and patients during COVID. So I want to say probably 12 months of actual work time to get it from concept to pilot.
Let's see, there's a lot of questions here. I'm trying to get through them. Okay, is there a digital therapeutics portion to Live Well, whether native or pulled from another vendor?
I may have to take that one back. I do have counterparts, and I want to be very accurate with that. So I'm going to take note of that and find out, look through the questions to be able to reply back to that. But I will have to get that one answered from somebody on that actual team.
Okay. How do you ensure patients schedule themselves correctly and that it doesn't cause additional work on the clinical team to accommodate or reschedule? I remember this has been a challenge since the very beginning of online scheduling is, how do you take patients down a path to get them to the right kind of appointment for the right kind of care? How are you making sure that your platform does that?
So we have, and I think in that one slide where I showed like these search, schedule, engage, they're two different foundational programs that we also support with this. It's called scheduling optimization. Scheduling optimization is where we work with our clinicians, HIT, our digital experience team to create those flows. Now, it's never going to be 100%, but we're shooting for that level of accuracy. So that way we aren't scheduling or rescheduling, because I know that the additional work does happen on the clinical team, but the impact is going to be on the consumers. And when we look at this consumer first approach, if a consumer comes in to schedule something, they should and feel confident that what they've scheduled for is correct, accurate. If we're not doing that, it blows their trust and their confidence, and we're training them to continue to call to schedule, and that things on the web or when you do online scheduling doesn't match up. So why would they be confident using those systems? So the scheduling optimization program is meant to create that avenue that our clinical, our HIT teams, our scheduling teams, our patient experience teams are all on the same page by designing what what patients can schedule for.
Well, I think we have time for one more question, and I've saved this one for last because I think it's appropriate to end with: what are your predictions for the digital front door, and how should leaders be preparing right now for the patient expectations in this more consumer-focused world?
Well, with healthcare, I mean, we've always viewed healthcare as behind the times. At least, I mean, maybe that's my opinion, but I always felt that way. And I've been in healthcare for over 20 years now, in the technology area of healthcare. And there was always a matter of saying that, like, okay, well, it's okay that they don't do all this. I think it at some point became acceptable, or at least just no, that's the way it is. I think things have changed. There's generational change of expectation, the instant gratification, the ability to do things online. Mobile phones have changed everything. And then I'll bring it up again with COVID. It's our consumers expect different types of care. They expect the level of convenience of like what you get from DoorDash. I've ordered something, it's going to be delivered to me. I expect my food to be hot. I expect my food to be accurate. I expect it to be delivered. If somebody says that their car is 7 minutes away, I expect my food to be here in 7 minutes. I think those same sentiments are now crossing over into this world of digital. We expect to be able to have those wait times accurately, so I know and I have those consumer choices to say, I'm going to go to this Walgreens or this immediate care because it has a 7-minute wait time. And you get there, and if it's 45 minutes, you're like, what just happened here? It said 7 minutes. So we're trained, we have a little bit more to catch up with, but that's the type of consumer expectation when we look at the digital front door. We have to start meeting and exceeding the same expectations that we have for the rest of the consumer world of what we're used to seeing, the curbside pickups of being able to click a button and have something brought to my car. We want those same types of accuracy. We want those same types of services when it comes into what healthcare is doing.
I think you're spot on. I think I've heard the term liquid expectations that, because Uber does it so well, because Amazon does it so well, and, it's seamless everywhere else, then why can't my healthcare provider also give me that same level of, intuition and ease? And, there's a lot of catching up, but what I will also say is, I've spent the last 15 years of my career in healthcare, and then about a year ago started looking at leading other industries. I have a whole team that focuses on multiple industries now, including healthcare. And I can tell you all that healthcare is really catching up. And, in many cases, the healthcare digital experience is getting to be on par with other industries. And I think that is the result of these other industries sort of forcing the hand of healthcare leaders to either, build better or, wait for someone else to come in and take over that business. So really great work here, Mike, that your team is doing at Advocate Aurora Health. You guys are absolutely impressing and continue to impress with your growth as a consumer-first organization. And we appreciate you sharing all of your insights today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to turn it back over to the Healthcare Innovations team. I think they have some wrap-up to close us out.
Yep. So I want to thank Mike and Annie today for the excellent webinar. I would also like to thank Reputation for making today's program possible. Finally, I want to thank everyone in our audience for joining us. We hope you'll join us in the future for another Healthcare Innovation webinar. This concludes today's presentation.